Welcome to Historic Reason. I am your host, Cheri Hausmann. Here we explore historical topics that bridge psychoanalysis, philosophy, history, and beyond. Today, we turn our focus to the beginnings of Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis, a journey that reshaped how we understand the human mind. Freud's story does not begin in medicine, but in philosophy. As a young man, he studied the great thinkers who questioned human nature and the workings of thought itself. This early exposure to philosophy planted the seeds of his lifelong fascination with the unconscious. From philosophy, Freud moved into medicine and then into the emerging field of neurology. His path eventually took him to Paris, where he met Jean-Marc Charcot. Charcot was experimenting with hypnosis as a way of treating hysteria, a condition that puzzled doctors of the time. Freud was deeply impressed by Charcot's demonstrations, and he began to wonder, what if the symptoms of hysteria were rooted not in the body, but in the mind? Returning to Vienna, Freud began working closely with Joseph Breuer. Together, they treated patients whose symptoms, paralysis, convulsions, or speech difficulties, seemed to have no medical cause. Breuer's famous patient, Anna O., gave voice to her experiences through what she called the talking cure. This therapeutic dialogue became the foundation of psychoanalysis. But Freud's theories did not develop in isolation alone. The turbulence of the early 20th century shaped his work in profound ways. World War I brought with it a new recognition of trauma, what was then called shell shock. Psychological wounds were no longer confined to hysterics and parlors, but were visible in soldiers returning from the trenches of World War I. Then came the rise of fascism, and eventually World War II. Intellectual life across Europe was disrupted, and Freud himself was forced to flee Vienna for London. These global upheavals fueled a shift in psychoanalysis, from focusing narrowly on individual neuroses to grappling with broader questions engaged in violence, loss, survival, and even death. Freud's theories, once controversial, began to find a place in the wider cultural imagination, influencing not just medicine, but art, literature, and politics. Psychoanalysis is, in many ways, a dialogue between the inner world of the mind and the outer world of history. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history and thought. If you enjoyed today's episode of Historic Reason, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And remember, history is never just about the past. It's a lens through how we understand ourselves today. Until next time, I'm Cheri Hausman, and this has been Historic Reason.